You've got a bunch of people watching you online, participating maybe in Zoom or on YouTube or on Facebook. How do we engage those people using just the chat and the comments? That's what we're going to talk about today on Torah Tech Tips. Hi everybody, David Paskin here, your Torah tech guy, and I'm here to share with you great tech for your great Torah. So today I want to talk with you about chat and comments and how you can use them most effectively to engage your audiences and your participants during services, during classes, whatever it is that you're offering. And I want to share with you 6 specific things that you can do using just the chat and the comments. Now, I'm not a huge fan of the live stream on YouTube and Facebook, even though that's what I'm doing now. When it comes to services, when it comes to building community and engagement, I'm not a big fan of the live streaming because it really doesn't allow people to connect as deeply as they might be able to in a multicast sort of situation like Zoom or Meet or Teams or something like that. Excuse me. Sorry about that. But having said that, it's great for getting yourself out there. It's great for sharing your Torah, right? The more people that see you on YouTube or Facebook, maybe they'll or LinkedIn for that matter, or Twitter, they might join you the next time you go into a Zoom. So I'm not against live streaming. I just don't think it's the best tool for engaging your community, really engaging your community for services or for learning. Having said that, there are things that you can do just in the chat, just in the comments, the live chat, or even post after your service or your class, even after the fact that you can do in the comments to really engage people. And I want to talk about 6 specific things with you today. So the first one is welcome your participants by name. I cannot begin to tell you how important it is to use people's names and to welcome them. When someone pops into your Zoom or onto your YouTube, say hello to them. If you don't know their name, if they're just in YouTube, right, and you don't know exactly who's there, then maybe invite people to put their name in the chat to say hello to you so that you know who's watching. But when you don't just give a generic hi everyone, that's nice, but specifically, hey David, I'm so happy you're here. It's good to see you in the chat. Okay? That's number 1. Number 2, tell people how you want them to use the chat and the comments. I'll give you a couple of examples. If you're teaching a class and you want people to be able to ask questions, but you don't necessarily want to use the raise hand feature in Zoom, you want to keep it in chat or comments for whatever reason, or you're doing this just on YouTube and Facebook where people can't open up their mic and their camera and you want them to be able to ask questions, then what you might want to do is say, please put a Q: before your question, or whatever you want them to put before the question, something so that you know that what you're getting is a question and not just a comment. Now, there are some tools like, for example, Ecamm, which I use, which will allow me to filter all the comments from YouTube or Facebook, and I can filter for just the Q:. So I can search for any comments that have that prefix, and that will just give me all the questions right there. If you don't have a program that will do that for you, but you have a Torah techie, someone who's maybe moderating your chat, then you can ask them to pull out all of the questions that are identified with a Q:. So giving your participants knowledge and guidance on how best to use the chat and the comments will empower them to really feel that they can participate in whatever you're offering. The third thing, ask specific questions. Beyond just what's your name, ask not just open-ended questions that people may be uncomfortable answering, but ask specific questions. Where are you watching from today? Where are you participating from today? Have you ever done X? Yes or no? And by the way, when you're asking the questions, tell them what they can answer. Yes or no, have you ever done X? Or what year was the last time that you visited Israel? Ask specific questions so that people feel empowered to answer those questions and participate. A lot of times, if you ask vague questions and they're sort of generic to the whole group, people feel like they can get away with not participating in the chat and the comments, and you want them to feel empowered. You want them to be a part of what you're doing. So ask specific questions, and if you can, even call out specific people and say, hey, David, can you tell me the last time you were in Israel? Put that in the chat. Next, respond to what people write in the chat or in the comments. So if you ask a question, or if somebody just asks a question on their own, respond to that in the chat or in the comments. We're going to talk about responding to that on air in a second. But even just in the chat, having someone, if you're not able to do it, that's fine. Have someone else who could respond to what people write in the chat. Make sure that they know that they are being heard when they write in the chat and in the comments. Remember, this is all about engagement. This is all about helping people feel welcomed, seen, heard, and engaged. Those are kind of my 4 things about online engagement. Everyone should feel welcomed, heard, seen. I just reversed those, sorry. Welcomed, seen, heard, and engaged. Seen does not necessarily mean I see your camera. It can also mean I see you. I see that you're here, or I hear you, even if you're just typing through the comments and chat. One of the ways to do that is to make sure that you're responding to what people put in the chat and in the comments. Number 5, type key takeaways in the chat or the comments. Now, again, if you're the only one running this, if you're teaching a class and you're trying to moderate comments also, this is going to be tricky. But if you have someone who can help you out, when you say something brilliant, make sure that they type that in the chat. Why? One of the reasons is because people can relatively easily, as long as you have this set up in your Zoom account, save the chat. Or at the very least, they can copy what's written in the chat. It's a lot harder to remember something or to try and furiously write something down that was brilliant that was just said when you're also trying to listen to the next thing that's brilliant that's being said. So if you have someone moderating your chat or your comments, take what you just said, the teacher, the rabbi, the cantor, whoever it is, that was brilliant and memorable, write that in the chat. Give people the kind of the Twitter feed of the class or the service right in the chat so that they can access that. And you're also creating yet another way for people to be brought into what you're offering. Some people, they'll do great just by listening or by looking. Other people, reading the text will actually be a more effective way of taking in the great ideas that you're trying to share. And the last suggestion I have for you is to read people's comments on the stream. Okay, I watch a lot of YouTube, and I try when I can to watch some of my favorite YouTubers when they go live. And when they go live, I try and comment and say, hi, how you doing? It's, whatever. When they ever read my comment on air or say, hey, David says hi, it just feels really good because, again, they know that you're there. They're seeing and hearing you, and that makes all the difference in the world. So if you're able to, whether because you're moderating the chat and you can see the comments in real time, or if you have someone who else is doing it and they can feed you some information that you can then share on the stream. Sadie, what are you making all that noise for? That's Sadie over there, if you're hearing her. Share that. Say that out loud. Mention people's names. Hi, Gloria. Hi, David. Hi, Heather. It's great to see you all here today. Thank you so much for being here. Oh, look what Eric just put in the chat that he just got back from a wonderful trip. Mention those things. Make people feel seen, heard, and welcomed. So, 6 tips for you. 6 tips on how to use chat and comments alone to engage your participants. Number 1, welcome people by name. Hello, David. I'm so happy you're here. Number 2, instruct people on how you want them to use the chat. Do you want them to put a Q before a question? Do you want to just tell them, ask your questions in the chat? Give people permission and let them know how to best use these tools. Number 3, don't just ask open-ended questions that people can feel they can ignore. Ask specific questions, maybe even geared towards certain participants who are with you on the stream, but ask specific questions that people can feel empowered to answer and be a part of. Number 4, when people do answer or when they write questions or comments in the chat, respond to that in the chat. Write back to them. Say, I see you. I hear you. This is especially important if you're not able to do tip number 6, which we'll get to in a second. Number 5, type key takeaways in the chat or the comments. If you're teaching a class and there's a miraculous thing that was just said, type that in the chat. If you want to direct people to a URL, to a website, type that in the chat. Use the chat to share information, even if you're also sharing that information audibly through your stream. And number 6, finally, read people's comments on your stream out loud so that they can hear their names and their thoughts, their Torah. Right? We have the opportunity to amplify other people's Torah on our streams, in our Zooms, in our YouTubes, in our Facebooks. And we can do that using just the chat or the comments. So there are 6 tips for you on how you can use chat and comments to up your engagement. I have a lot of other tips and tricks for you. I want to invite you to head over to TorahTechGuy.com to subscribe here on YouTube or like it on Facebook. I'm almost up to 100 subscribers on YouTube. It'd be really, really nice to get to 100 subscribers and then to get to another 100 after that. Really, this is all about just sharing great tech for your great Torah, and I'm really honored to be here and to do it with you. I have a few other shows coming up. We've got another. You know what? I just forgot to tell you. Tomorrow, every Wednesday from 5 to, is it 5 to 6 or is it 4 to 5? I don't remember. I think it's 5 to 6. Go to my website. I'm doing a hangout, except it's on Zoom. Go to TorahTechGuy.com/hangout, and I will be there on Zoom to answer any questions you have. Bring your tech, bring your challenges, or just hang out to schmooze with me. All the information is right there on TorahTechGuy.com/hangout. And we've got the Synagogue Tech Forum coming back next week. Lots of good stuff coming up. So use that chat, use those comments, and I look forward to seeing you on the next Torah Tech Tips. Bye, everyone.